What happens when a quiet 72-year-old man helps a neighborhood boy fix his bike? No one expected that simple act to turn him into a threat. What happened next left the entire street speechless. You ever do something nice and get slapped in the face for it? No, not literally, though at this point I wouldn't be shocked if someone took a swing. I mean, the kind of slap that's invisible, the one that hits you in the chest, leaves no bruise, but takes the air out of your lungs. That was me. My name's George. I'm 72. I live alone. I mind my business. At least I used to. Until I made one tiny, well-meaning decision, and the world around me started to twist like a bad crime show script. Let me back up. It was a Tuesday, which sounds like nothing. But that Tuesday, it marked the beginning of my fall from grace, or what little grace a retired mechanic with arthritic knees and a pension could still have. I had just made my morning coffee, black, as always, no sugar, because I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. And I was standing on my front porch when I saw her. Mrs. Myers, 80 years old if she was a day, hunched over her porch steps, a paper grocery bag torn, and its contents spilled all over the walkway. I didn't think. I just moved. I waddled my creaky knees across the lawn and knelt down to help her gather the cans of beans, tomatoes, some bruised apples. "Thank you, George," she said softly, almost like she was embarrassed. "You always notice when someone needs help." "That's how I was raised," I replied, smiling like an idiot. "We looked out for each other back then." She nodded, and then she said something weird. "Be careful being kind around here. People talk." I thought it was just old lady paranoia. Little did I know, that warning, it was a goddamn prophecy. Later that day, I went out for my usual walk. I do it every evening around 6:30, after the news. I wear my faded navy windbreaker, the one with the busted zipper, and carry a little flashlight, because my eyesight's not what it used to be. Nothing dramatic. Just a lap or two around the block. Stretch the legs. Remind the world that I'm still here. About halfway through, I saw Mikey, a neighbor kid, maybe 10, maybe 12, I can't tell anymore. He was sweating, crouched over his bike on the sidewalk, clearly struggling with a flat tire. I watched him for a second, debating whether to step in. Then I heard my mother's voice in the back of my head. "If you can help, you do it." Simple. So I asked, "Need a hand, buddy?" Mikey shrugged, too shy to say no. I walked back home, grabbed my old tire patch kit, came back, and showed him how to do it. It took 10 minutes, tops. When we were done, he smiled. "You're cool, Mr. Patterson." "Don't let anyone hear you say that," I joked. But of course, someone did. The very next morning, just as I was finishing my oatmeal, came the knock. I opened the door to find Mrs. Kowalski standing there, arms crossed, lips pursed like she had bitten a lemon. "Did you talk to my son yesterday?" "Your son?" I blinked. "You mean Mikey?" "Yeah. I helped him fix his tire." Her expression darkened. "I'd prefer it if you didn't interact with him without permission." I blinked again, slower this time. "I didn't know kindness required clearance these days." "You live alone, Mr. Patterson," she snapped. "It's just not appropriate." And just like that, she turned and left. No thank you, no conversation. Just dropped the hammer and vanished. I stood there on the porch, stunned. I wasn't angry. Not yet. More confused than anything. But that fog of confusion? It was about to clear and make way for something nastier. In the following days, something shifted. People stopped waving. That might not sound like much, but in this town, waving is like breathing. Tom, my neighbor for 20 years, suddenly couldn't make eye contact. Judy from across the street crossed over to the other side when she saw me walking. Even the mailman gave me a side glance I didn't understand. At the store, I caught whispers. Literal whispers. My ears aren't what they used to be. But tone? Tone I can still read like a headline. He's always out at night. Lives alone, you know. Wasn't he talking to that kid? The words didn't have to be clear. The meaning hit like a brick. And I'll tell you something. It's one thing to be ignored. It's another thing entirely to be feared. I called my daughter Jenna. We don't talk much, but I figured she might help me make sense of this, or at least tell me I was being paranoid. "Hey, sweetheart," I said when she picked up. "Hi, Dad," she replied, a little too cautious. "I think something weird's happening. People around here, they're acting strange." A long pause. Too long. "Have you been talking to kids again?" she asked. That stopped me cold. "What?" "Jenna, I helped a boy with a bicycle. That's not talking to kids. That's being neighborly." Another pause. "Dad, people are just on edge. These days, everything's under a microscope. Maybe it's best to just keep to yourself." There it was. She didn't say it outright. She didn't have to. She thought I was the problem. That Friday, against my better judgment, I went out for my usual evening walk. Same route, same windbreaker, same flashlight. I passed a group of neighbors gathered near a driveway. They stopped talking when I got close. Dead silence. You don't need a PhD in social dynamics to know when people are talking about you. I turned around and walked home. As I reached my porch, I noticed a flyer taped to my door. I peeled it off. "Watch who's walking at night. Protect our children." No name, no address, no courage. My hands shook. I wasn't scared. I was furious. Furious at the cowardice. Furious at the assumptions. Furious that a good deed had turned into a goddamn witch hunt. Later that night, someone knocked again. I opened the door. It was Tom. He looked like he didn't want to be there. "Hey, George," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Look, I don't believe the rumors, but maybe you should lay low for a while. Just until things calm down." I laughed, out loud. "Lay low? For fixing a bike tire?" "Just trying to help," he mumbled, and walked off into the dark. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my kitchen, staring at the flyer, thinking how fast kindness can rot when fear gets in the air. How people don't ask questions anymore. They just assume. And once they've made up their minds, you're done. Doesn't matter who you were, what you did, or what your intentions were. It was official. I had become that guy. The loner. The threat. The warning tale. All because I dared to care. What happened next changed everything. You won't believe how deep this goes. Don't miss what comes next, because the real nightmare hasn't even started yet. You ever try to prove you're innocent when no one actually said you were guilty? But they look at you like they already held the trial, the jury voted, and now they're just waiting for you to rot? That's what the next week felt like. They didn't come out and say it. Oh no, that would have required confrontation. And God forbid someone in suburbia actually speak like an adult. Instead, they weaponized silence, cold glances, doors that used to stay open now shutting when I passed, and those little passive-aggressive moments, like when Judy accidentally sprayed her hose my way when I was out getting the mail. Twice. At first, I tried to keep my dignity, act like none of it bothered me. Pretend I hadn't noticed the flyer with my silhouette red-circled in Sharpie, posted on the telephone pole 2 blocks away. But I noticed. I noticed everything. Let me tell you about the meeting. Every few months, the neighborhood association holds a gathering in that god-awful beige community center next to the tennis courts no one uses. I'd skipped the last few. There's only so many times you can listen to Marlene Daniels complain about people not bagging their grass clippings, but this time I showed up. Maybe I thought if they saw me, talked to me, remembered I was human, the whispers would stop. Yeah, stupid. I walked in. A few people nodded stiffly. Most looked anywhere but at me. I sat near the back. Marlene, of course, was front and center with her damn clipboard. Then came open concerns. That's when people get to passive-aggressively air their grievances. And wouldn't you know it, first hand up? Mrs. Kowalski. She cleared her throat, like she was about to deliver the State of the Union. I just want to say, with everything in the news lately, I think we need to be more vigilant, especially with those who walk the neighborhood at odd hours. Every head turned, slowly, toward me. I smiled, tight. I walk after dinner, like I've done for 15 years. Is that odd now? She blinked, fake innocent. Of course not, George. But you have to admit, it can make people nervous. I almost choked. Me? Making people nervous? What do you think I'm out there doing? Stalking mailboxes? She didn't laugh. No one did. That's when I realized the verdict had already been decided. After that meeting, the Cold War went hot. I started getting calls. Anonymous, of course. Just heavy breathing or hang-ups. Someone keyed my car. Not a full slash, no. Just a line across the hood. Enough to let me know they wanted me to see it. Even the grocery store cashier, a pimply 20-something who used to call me Sir, now couldn't make eye contact when I handed him my card. It's surreal when the world turns on you slowly. It's not like a thunderclap. It's more like a slow leak in a tire. You roll along until one day you realize you've been dragging your rim on the pavement for miles. And the worst part? You start to question yourself. One night, I was sitting in my recliner, lights off, just the hum of the fridge keeping me company, when I saw it. A glow. Outside, someone was on my lawn. I stood slowly, crept to the window. 2 teenage boys, flashlights. One of them pointed directly at my front window. The other laughed. Then they bolted. I stormed outside in my robe, shouting, but they were already gone. My neighbor, Tom, stepped onto his porch and stared at me like I was the maniac. You okay, George? Some punks just trespassed on my lawn. He scratched his head. You sure? I didn't see anyone. Of course not. Because when you're the accused, even your truth starts sounding like fiction. Then came the real kick in the gut. My daughter Jenna showed up unannounced. She had that smile on her face, the kind people wear when they're about to talk to you like you're a confused old man. Dad, she started, we need to talk. Don't tell me, I sighed. You heard something. She nodded. I just think, maybe it's time you moved. Somewhere more, I don't know, supervised. Safer. Safer? That word hit like a hammer. I'm not a threat, Jenna, I said. I'm your father, and I helped a kid fix a tire. I know, she said quickly, but perception matters. People are uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. So that's what I'd become. A walking discomfort. A problem that needed to be moved, like an old couch that no longer matches the new decor. I'm not going anywhere, I told her. She looked at me like I'd refused a life raft. Okay, Dad, but please, just stop walking at night. Stay in. For me, I really did. I stayed in for a week. Curtains drawn, TV on, even if I wasn't watching it. The walls felt tighter every day. My legs ached from disuse. My mind raced in loops, over and over. Was I losing it? Had I missed something? Then came the knock. Again? I opened the door, and this time it wasn't a neighbor. It was a uniform. A cop. Mr. Patterson? That's me. We got a call. Said you were acting suspicious. Thought we'd check in. I stared at him. Acting suspicious? How? He shrugged. Didn't say. Just that you were looking through fences. Maybe peering into windows? I barked a laugh. I was putting out my trash. He gave me that look. The one that says, I know you're telling the truth, but I've still got a form to fill out. Just doing my job, he muttered. After he left, I sat on my porch and looked at the street that used to be my home, where I helped shovel snow from neighbors' driveways, where I fixed lawnmowers for free, where I walked every night for 15 years without a second glance. Now I was the monster under their beds. You want to know what I did next? Nothing. I just sat there. And I planned. Because you can only push a man so far before he stops trying to prove himself and starts taking notes. This is the climax. Everything you've been waiting for comes next. Stay with me, because I'm about to show you exactly what happens when the harmless old man decides he's had enough. You ever reach that point where you stop caring how you're perceived? When you finally realize no matter how polite, quiet, or helpful you are, people have already nailed you to the wall, and they did it with smiles and passive-aggressive bake sales? Well, that was me. By the time the police stopped by with their clipboard and hollow apologies, I was done trying to fit into the mold of harmless old man. I'd played that role my whole damn life. Fixed things, smiled at everyone, said please and thank you while getting railroaded. And for what? So they could turn me into a ghost in my own house? Number not anymore. I didn't shave that morning. Didn't put on the sweater with the elbow patches that Jenna bought me either. I pulled on an old denim jacket I hadn't worn since the 90s, boots still muddy from a fishing trip I barely remembered, and walked straight out my front door like I owned the street. Because I did. Let them look. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. They'd tried to exile me. Fine. But they forgot something. I wasn't dead yet. You want to know what revenge looks like when you're 72? It's not throwing fists or screaming in the street. Number. It's subtle, strategic, delightfully inconvenient. I started small. The next time someone left a note on my door, I laminated it and nailed it to the community board with a bright yellow sticky that said, "Cowardice is still anonymous. George Patterson." I started walking again. Same time, same flashlight. Only this time, I wore a neon vest with "I live here too" printed in black across the chest. And I waved. At everyone. A long, exaggerated, slow-motion wave like I was royalty driving by in a convertible. Oh, and I brought treats to the dogs that barked at me. After a few days, they started wagging their tails. Even the pets knew who the real villain was, and spoiler alert, it wasn't the guy handing out liver biscuits. It happened during a trash night. I was rolling my bin to the curb when I saw Tom across the street, dragging his own. His eyes flicked toward me, and then down. I crossed the road. He looked up like I was holding a weapon. "Relax," I said. "Just came to chat." He cleared his throat. "Look, George, I never said anything bad about you." "Never said anything good either," I replied. He opened his mouth, shut it, then opened it again. People were scared. "Of me?" He winced. They didn't know what to think. "Because I helped a kid fix a bike." Silence. I let it sit, long enough to make him sweat. Then I leaned in. "I know who posted the flyer, Tom, and I know who printed the others." He froze. "You think I wouldn't recognize your wife's handwriting after she sent us holiday cards for 15 years? He looked away. "I'm not going anywhere," I said. "So tell your little circle to update the script." Next week I showed up to the neighborhood meeting again. This time I didn't sit in the back. I stood at the front, clipboard in hand. "Good evening," I said. "I have a few open concerns of my own." The room tensed like a middle school assembly when the principal shows up mid-fight. I held up a packet. In my hands, I have 12 anonymous flyers, 3 screenshots of neighborhood group posts implying I'm dangerous, and a log of every time someone walked past my home and filmed it with their phone. Eyes widened. None of these people had the guts to knock on my door and ask me a single question. Not once. Still silence. But the best part? I leaned in, smiling. Every single one of these assumptions came from the fact that I walk. At night. And live alone. Marlene Daniels muttered, "We were just being cautious." "No, you were being cowardly," I snapped, "and you didn't protect your community. You poisoned it." I wasn't yelling. My voice was calm, ice cold. "I won't sue," I continued. "I won't call the press. But I will keep walking. I will keep waving. And I will keep existing." Loudly. A few people clapped. Real claps. From the back. Maybe pity, maybe guilt. But it didn't matter. The tide shifted. A few days later, I got a knock. I almost ignored it, expecting another passive-aggressive, concerned citizen. But when I opened the door, there he was. Mikey, the bike kid. He stood awkwardly, holding a paper bag. "My mom said I could come say thank you, and sorry." I stared, speechless. He handed me the bag. Cookies. Badly made. But that wasn't the point. She thought you were weird. But I told her you're not. I smiled, for real this time. "You've got guts, kid," he shrugged. "I just think it's dumb." I nodded. Me too. I still walk. Every night. The whispers are quieter now. The stares are shorter. Some neighbors even wave back. But more importantly, I don't walk small anymore. I take up space. Because when the world tries to shrink you into silence, the best revenge is refusing to disappear. We're not done yet. You've seen George rise, but in the final chapter, you'll witness the moment that proves once and for all. Dignity doesn't retire. And justice? It has no expiration date. You want to know what justice looks like when you're over 70? It's not dramatic. There are no fireworks, no big courtroom speeches. It's quieter, slower. But when it comes, it lands like thunder in a town that thought you were too old, too lonely, too irrelevant to matter. Well, guess what? They were wrong. And in the end, I didn't need to shout. I just needed to let them hear the silence they created and watch them squirm in it. After Mikey showed up with that bag of cookies, something broke open in me. Not in a painful way. More like when a frozen pipe finally thaws and you hear the water rush again. I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. What I felt was clarity. People feared what they didn't understand. And me? I was a walking contradiction to their stereotypes. An old man who wasn't bitter, who didn't hide inside, who had the audacity to still give a damn about his street, even when it turned its back on him. I knew I couldn't fix everything, but I sure as hell could leave something behind. So I did. No, not the passive-aggressive ones they kept taping to my door. I wrote a real letter, to every house on the block, typed, printed, folded neatly in envelopes with my name signed in blue ink at the bottom. No stamps, no mailman. I delivered them myself, middle of the day. No hoodie, no sunglasses, just me. The letter read, "Dear neighbor, you know me. Or at least you used to. My name is George Patterson. I've lived here 27 years. I raised a daughter in this neighborhood. I fixed your lawnmowers, shoveled your sidewalks, waved every evening. Then one day, I fixed a bike. And overnight, I became the villain of a story I never got to write. You didn't ask me what happened. You didn't check the facts. You assumed. But I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to remind you. We are better than this. Fear will rot your community faster than time ever could. I'm still walking. I'm still waving. I still live here. And I still believe most of you are good people. Let's act like it. George. That letter did more damage than any lawyer ever could. Because when guilt walks right into your mailbox, typed and underlined, it doesn't go away quietly. I didn't expect a parade, but I started to notice things. People who used to rush inside when I passed lingered. A few even mumbled greetings. Some stopped pretending I didn't exist. Tom came by again. No wife this time, just a cooler of beers and an awkward, "thought you might want company." I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. A few weeks later, I got an envelope in the mail. Not anonymous, addressed by hand. Inside was a formal invitation. Block barbecue. Signed by the entire organizing committee, including Marlene Daniels herself. The same woman who once pretended I was invisible now wanted me to bring George's famous chili. I considered throwing it away. Instead, I showed up. I didn't make chili. I brought cornbread. Store-bought. Slightly stale. But I smiled. I mingled. And I watched as people stumbled over themselves to reintroduce themselves, to ask if I had seen that new pothole down on Cedar, or what I thought of the new recycling rules. Oh, now they wanted my opinion? I gave it. Short, sharp, and clear. Because I had nothing left to prove, but plenty to say. One evening, Mikey showed up again, this time with a sketchbook. He asked if he could draw on my porch, said it was peaceful here. I let him. We didn't talk much. But he came back every other day, brought his own snacks, sometimes asked me questions about tools or what cassette tapes were. I answered honestly, patiently. And when his mom came to pick him up one afternoon, she looked me in the eyes for the first time. "Thank you," she said. "For not giving up?" I nodded. "Next time," I replied, "just knock. Don't assume." She nodded back. Sometimes that's all you need. I didn't become a local hero. There was no headline, no feature in the town newsletter. But something changed. A shift in posture. A few more waves returned my way. Lawn chairs moved closer to sidewalks instead of farther back. People remembered I was here, and that I'd never left. I still live alone, still walk at night. But now, when I do, I carry something new. Not a flashlight, not a flyer, but dignity. The kind you fight for when you've been dragged through the dirt and still come out upright. And you know what? That walk feels a little lighter now. So yeah, if you're over 70 and live alone, don't stop walking in the evening. Just make damn sure they hear your footsteps. Because some ghosts aren't dead. They're just done staying quiet.